Oh, hey. Fancy meeting you here. It's Romania Black, and we are on episode 3, aka episode 27 of Blue Lock, baby. Yeah. So last episode we started out the tryouts for the third selection, which is basically the top 11 of our 35 gathered forwards against, or strikers, however you want to say it, and we're gonna have them face the U20. But this entire method of how we're narrowing down to the top 11, I am really all about. Isagi came right out the gate in that first group, and him and Chigiri, along with four others. As well as where you say, Reen, and then Ada and Tabiko, who Ada and Tabiko were our assassin and ninja last episode, and things are not going great for Asagi's team, as per the usual. Chigiri's team has 4 out of the 5 goals that they need to win the match and end it, and Asagi's group only has 2. And the main reasons for that is, 1, Isagi cannot figure out how he can assist and help and subjugate to win the game. And the other thing is, he needs to figure out how to subjugate because Ryusei and Reen are both insanely talented, but they do not get along and they clash horribly. So there's that. But yeah, so I'm super excited to get into this episode and see what we get. I have no clue how Asagi seems to have figured everything out last episode. He was like, "Oh, I got this. Everything's great." And I'm like, "But how?" And then the episode ended. So I have a feeling that these episodes are going to be insanely short and with the additional times, and I'm not ready for that. So I have my blue Kool-Aid ready, though. That's for damn sure. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I will make note, Wim, who is the moderator for this channel, did make note and say that Crunchyroll now has the episode Nagi movie. Did they advertise that? No. Could it have come out, 3 weeks ago before the first episode of the second season? Probably. But we didn't. But they were like, "Oh, it's up now." So I was like, okay, cool. But they said that it was not time for me to watch that in credit scene, so we're just going to wait a little bit longer and go with that. But still can't watch the OP or ED, which is fine, so we're going to be skipping those on the timer. But I am excited to see what we're going to get. Before we start, I want to give a special shout out to the people on the philanthropy tier on Patreon for being super supportive for me. I'm obviously grateful for everybody that supports me on YouTube or that are patrons, but the philanthropy tier, they get a shout out each week in my videos. So special shout out to Alex Cornejo, Anime Annie, Be Happy, Bryant Reed, BBT, as well as Dana, Danny Donmai, Devorin, Danger Zone, Destiny, Marie, Damage 3245, Ichu, Fisho, Eric, Ghostly Turnip, Elfreya, Liam Poles, Lyndon, Matthew Palfinier, Murphew, Nameless Monster, Nicholas, Sunspots, Shimoyama, Trails, Translucent Men, Maroni W, and Alexandra Q. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. Yes, so anyway. I'm excited to see what this episode is going to give me. I want to know how cannibalistic we going to get. Is Isagi gonna put a bib on and go eat at Joe's Crab Shack? I don't know. We're going to find that out. I will say there was a piece of fan art that was shared this morning in the Discord, and it cracked me up. It was of Chigiri like scoring all these goals and doing the thing, and instead of Isagi, there were just like little shrimp everywhere. I'm like, I feel the need to defend my little shrimp Isagi. He's trying his hardest, y'all. But we're gonna start Blue Lock episode 27, and we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Come on, Namco. Get in there. How will Isagi win the day? Oh, just like that, yeah. Mabel. With his glowing neon cat eyes. And Reen's like, "Stop it!" No. Oh my god. No straight man in your double act! Oh my god. Well, there are no straight men on this entire court, actually. Yeah. I like that Nanase was like, hell, they're close to winning. And Isagi's like, we're dying. Someone also pointed out that Rin has the bottom lashes and Ryusei has the top lashes. They're polar opposites. Maybe it was Truck that said that. Or Pink Tea, one of the two. Yeah. Ryusei is all about instinct and Rin's all about calculations. They have the worst compatibility. So, how you gonna bridge that gap, Isagi? How you gonna do this? Isagi's like got that 1,000-piece puzzle down. Do it! Do it! Okay, we're gonna skip the intro. And I want to get my time down for when that intro technically ends. I think it says 3 minutes and 14 seconds. Yeah. Why are we having trouble loading? The world you feel. The world you feel should more like be like the world you taste. Ah! Don't do it, bros! Uh-huh. By their laurels. Oh, wow. How are they going to coexist? Oh my god, the veins! Why y'all roided out? Oh! Yeah, they're not gonna mesh. Is make them mesh? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so what we're gonna do. I love the tinkering of the puzzle pieces. Yes. Okay, so what we're gonna do. Oh. Uh-huh. I was gonna say, is Tobito gonna be right there? Yeah, how'd you think he wasn't gonna be there? He's been following you this whole time. Oh! Oh! Look at you doing something, Nanase! Oh, what can he do? Oh. Oh my god, he's stealing your thunder! Okay, well no, make this work! Oh! And back again, okay! Get past his hands! Get through his wings! Oh no, he ducked! Oh my god, but there's Chigiri right there. It feels like it's floating in water, right? And all this is like happening within milliseconds, right? Uh-huh. Oh. But would he do that? No. Oh. Okay. Okay. Fine. I mean, would we expect anything different? Spinning banana banana somehow seems fitting for him. He looks like a banana split, so... With his strong core. Oh, with his strong core indeed. Okay. He's like Nagi in that respect. Yes, you were. Bro's a beast! Beast! Yes. Use Nanase. Use them all. Aw. Aw, you're so precious. I'm going to use you to win this game, Nanase. Oh, I'm going to take that as a compliment. Let's go. But now they have the ball. Mm-hmm. Oh my god. But now what? Ah! Why is this playing like a visual novel? Come at me, bro! Leave the dead body! Big G attitude. They're completely disregarded. Well, Reen did call you a corpse a second ago. Oh my god. So... Oh, yes! There we go! Alright! Mr. Average! Okay. Oh, nice! Road's closed! Okay. Right. Right. Okay. Sure. Look at our gentle parallel world working together. It's not like he's super good. Oh my god. Look, he's trying his hardest. He's helping you, Isagi. Work with him. The idea of these three working together is so cool. Mr. Blue Sky, you missed a perfect opportunity there. Karasu likes you because you're fast. He likes quickies, so just watch yourself. Oh, just go past the two guys that have done nothing on their team this whole time. But... that's if all goes well. Okay. Oh. Ah! Are you ignoring? The way he said that, he's like, are you ignoring me? Is somebody gonna move in the way, though? Oh my god. No! No! No, you mother trucker, how could you miss? How could you miss? No! Oh my god. Oh my god. You craven crow. Don't just assume. Oh. Oh. Oh my god. It says bros at the end of everything. Oh my god. Oh. I like you doing all the alliteration to make fun of him. Hmm. Mm. Oh my God. Uh-huh. Oh my God. Oh my God, what? Oh! Hi, how's it going? It's like a Jekyll and Hyde moment. No, your pass was perfect. I just sucked it up. I blew it. At least he's like, you know, being honest and self-aware. Oh. Oh. Yeah. That's a good point, Hiyori. Oh, nice. Nice. Yes! Think as a reflex. The world you feel. Okay, there we go. Roll credits. Well, okay, fine. Nice. Ren, why are you calling them runts? Oh my God. No, dumb, don't call him that. Oh, shit. Oh, what is this? Why do you have like neon? Oh my God. The star. Of course. I was like, if this ends now, absolutely not. I was like, if that episode was over, I was gonna be so pissed. Oh, his little purple glow. Oh, the fart aura is in both eyes now. Oh, Hiyori looks really good there. Oh, bless your little bones. Oh. Well, you're not going to know unless you do it. Oh my God. When he's least wanted, yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. No, you're depending on Nanase? Okay, oh thank God. Oh my God. Where's Ryusei? Where's Ryusei? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. So what do we do? What do we do? Right, but... Oh my God. No! Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Don't think with your head. Think with your dick. Go! gotta believe. Oh my God. Oh my God. With this little ice blue. Oh, bitch. Oh my God. I mean, oh, oh, okay. All right. All right. Aha. Aha. Chiguru's like, oh, well, shit. Oh, would you do an Akira slide right then and there? Bro. His little sprout hair. Oh my God. He had a burst of adrenaline, you know. I don't know myself, honestly. Man, if Hiyori doesn't make it past this round after giving him that advice, that's going to be a blow. An awakening. Please get off of me. Could you? Could you feel his cells giving off sparks? That, oh, my foot. Oh. Ah, that means he likes you. It's fine. It's fine. He's like, I could hold both of them with these two hands. I mean, you had a moment. You had a moment. You went plus ultra and it was great. I was waiting for this. Henri, I'm going to need you to leave. That was the shortest episode ever. What is this additional time that we got? This is a hella long additional time. Oh, unless it's an extended scene. Oh. 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 Oh, shit. Ah! I'm having a moment, can you? He's having a moment, y'all. He's having a moment. Ah! Okay, okay. Okay, Naruto. Kamadon! Oh! Oh! What? What? Missy! I was like, is he gonna, what? Ah! Ada! Oh my god! Yeah! Ah! Just so you know, they're not gonna say it! Because they don't believe in it! Well, Ada can't pass the overall test because he's a confirmed heterosexual. Huh. Well. Okay. So Isagi has this moment of where he becomes truly the shonen protagonist. He does! He has this shonen protagonist moment, the moment where he does something crazy, and everybody's like, how did he do that? How was that even possible? And really all it was like mind over matter, and also making thinking a reflex, which we're going to talk about. But man, Hiyori, oddly enough, Hiyori's been kind of MVP of this entire game. So I kind of feel bad now, like immediately discrediting Hiyori, being like, I ain't gonna do nothing. But honestly, Hiyori's kind of the reason that they, one of the reasons they won. And I don't think we should shake a stick at that. So, okay. So we obviously have our top 11, but we have, for our top 11 selection, which is the third selection, we have, I think maybe last episode I was looking about this the wrong way, because obviously we've got to narrow down 35 to 11. That's a lot. That is a lot to narrow down. And it's like, okay, because if you think about it, we're cutting out a lot of people. And my thought was last episode, well, they're going to cut like one person from every group. I don't think so now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know if cutting those 11 is really how it's going to go down. Because if you think about it, cutting one person from each group after each match seems unfair because, like, let's point out the teams that we had here. So we had Team A, which ended up winning, which kudos. We'll talk about it in this episode. We'll just put wins. We'll put a win on there. So win for Team A. Team A ends up winning over Team B. Okay. And that was our first round in round 1. And so that includes Rin, Ryusei, as well as Isagi and Hiyori and Nanase. Okay. And then over on Team B, we had Sarah, Madara, and we had Shiguma, and then we had Shigiri with Ada and Tobito. Okay. Here's my thoughts after this match here is over. On this team, it's kind of hard because Hiyori actually pulled their weight. Hiyori did a lot this last episode. Now in hindsight, I would say that Nanase, I was pleasantly surprised by Nanase in this episode. Do I think that Nanase did enough to prove that he's worthy of making it to the top 11? No. So I'm going to count Nanase out, even though valiant effort, honorable mentions, cookies for you, team player awards, all that good stuff. Over here, Shigiri and Ada and Tobito worked together really great. Sarah, Madara, and Shiguma, they didn't do jack shit, so they're out. They didn't do anything that we could see, so those 3 are out. But my point is, there are 4 people on this team that pulled their weight rather well, and there are 3 on this team that pulled their weight rather well. So, Ego is looking at everyone and all these matches. I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more of his rationale and how he's going to select the top 11 from this episode, but that would be ruining the surprise. So we got to tune in and see what he does there, right? But I would not be surprised if we have some teams that face off against each other where none of the 3 that are included with the 2 of the top 6, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the games, there are like individuals of 3 that they're like, oh, they all sucked. So then we just cut them all out, right? That could very well happen, and we're going to talk about it with round 2. So this was all round 1. All right? So round 2, which I think they said that Team A was playing again against Team C back to back. That is like Rin and Ryu say they are gonna get no breaks. So we're gonna see who the three are with them, and then we're gonna have Nagi as well as Kinyu. And then we know that Rayo is over there. And I think Geen was one of them. So Geen was one of them. And then Bob Ross, which we have, is Tanaka, is one of them too. So that's our chance to see how they work out. Tanaka, Rayo, Kid. I want to watch that game. I want to see how Geen works with Rayo. That would be interesting. Geen is so used to being with Raichi and Team Z. Seeing him on a team with other people, I want to watch that game. I think that'd be interesting. I hope that they show us the matches. I really hope that they show us the other matches. I want to see how everybody else plays. And I really want to see how Rin and Ryusei function without Isagi, because that's going to be interesting. And we're going to talk about that as we go through. But we'll go back to see what that other team is going to be at the end here. But I was really surprised by Hiyori and even Nanase, because I gave them a hard time last week saying that they weren't going to do much. And then I was like, okay, well, Hiyori seems to be based a little bit over Kuroko from Kuroko's Basketball, who has a pretty big role there. So maybe they are going to do some things. And then they ended up doing a lot. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So we need to get in on this, because this first part here is like a little bit of a recap. And Tobito and them, they were laying on the no homo in this episode. Just a wee bit. Especially with Ada. I was like, we're going to talk about that when we get to the additional time. But I was like, whenever Tobito said there was no straight man in your double act, I was like, there is no straight man on Team A. Not that I know of. Maybe Nanase is. Nanase doesn't give off those vibes. Top 3 though. I don't know. I don't think Ryusei has a sexual preference. I think Ryusei is just like, Ryusei would definitely be pansexual. Ryusei would be like, whatever fits with the cells of my body is what I'm going with. And I'd be like, okay, well that checks out for Ryusei. He's like, whatever, whenever, wherever. Like he's going to be singing Shakira and doing whatever the mood strikes. But as far as Rin and Isagi goes, anyway. So yeah, they're close to winning, and that's when Isagi's like, well, why'd they crash into each other? And it's because they both clash, and somebody needs to be there to be the middleman. And Isagi's like, well, if anybody's gonna get in between a sandwich, it's me. So Isagi's like, I will be the pickle on your hot dog. I will be the relish. And there we go, right? So, okay, let's get past this OP. The internet was starting to lag just a hot second, and I was like, don't you dare episode. So, okay. So, as we get in this episode is called The World That You Feel. And at first I was like, what does that title have to do with anything? But it's what Hiyori tells Isagi. I do like that Nanase ends every sentence he says with bros, which would be annoying in real life, but is really kind of endearing here. He's like, they play soccer purely to score goals themselves, but they don't work together well at all. And that's how they've made it this far. Yeah, basically Isagi's like, wait a minute, Ryusei and Rin have been soloists this entire time. And Rin literally called them all peasants last season and were like, do as I say and be my pawns. And Ryusei probably was saying the exact same thing to Igarashi and the others. So it makes sense that the two of them have made it this far on their merits alone. But now that's not going to cut it when it's down to the wire like this. And it's not going to cut it against the U20. So Ego wants to know, I got a bunch of really talented players that have not really been checked and balanced this entire time. Who's going to be able to wrangle these cats and make this work? And Isagi might be the puzzle piece shaped man to do it. So I do love every time Isagi's like having a moment, it feels like it's straight out of the manga where the puzzle pieces come off his body and his skin. Like get this dude some moisturizer because his skin is breaking out into puzzle pieces. He's like, can players like that coexist on the same team? And so that is where we have our 3 letters here. We have the idea of coexistence, the idea of assertion, and the idea of subjugation. And Ego said, you gotta have all three. You gotta have Cass to make it work. So the coexisting is, what's interesting here is it's this idea of team play. And that kind of flies in the face of everything that the first selection and the second selection sort of gave us, because the first and second selection, a lot of it was like, how good are you individually, which is the idea of assertion. So individually, you have to stand out and show your value. Like, what do you bring to the team? How are you a team player? How do you function in a team setting? What do you bring? The coexisting is, can you play together as a team to get the goals, right? Because against the U20, they're not just going to have strikers. They're going to have defenders. They're going to have an actual goalie. They're going to be an organized unit. So we have this chaotic group of talent. Can you organize and work together as a group? And that's kind of Team A's biggest struggle, right? Because Team B was pretty well coordinated. I mean, Sara Madara and Shiguma didn't do much, but they were a united front, right? So how do we get this team together? And then subjugation is that there has to be a leader or an organizer. There has to be somebody to lead the charge, somebody to take the reins, and somebody to do what needs to be done, right? And if you think about it, I hate the phrase, those that can't teach. I hate that phrase so much because I feel like it suggests that the people teaching aren't qualified or good enough to do what they're teaching. And that's not always the case. It's like a coach, because I coach myself. It's like a coach or someone that is a teacher to someone else. Most of the time, the reason they're doing that is because they're too old or physically incapable anymore to do the original task. Like, I coach a speech team. I'm too old to competitively compete in speech. I've already done my time. I've already done my competition years. I can't go back and redo it. Doesn't mean I didn't do a good job, but it means I'm physically and legally ineligible. So what do? I can teach other people how to do it and I can coach them, but my job is not to be the person necessarily that wins the trophies, but I help to organize and get together the people that are going to go out and do that. And that's kind of like Isagi here, is that you have technically Ryusei and Rin and Hiyori are all, I think, your top people as far as, let me rephrase that. Rin and Ryusei are your top people for assertion. They got this down. They can stand out and they got the talent to score the goals. Then you have Hiyori and Nanase that are doing your coexisting. Hiyori's doing all the passing. Nanase is making, opening up to where there are more ways that Isagi can get around the blind spots from Tobito, and they basically help the coexistence part of it. And then Isagi's whole thing is the subjugation, where he's like, okay, I'm going to be captain of the ship. Here's what we're going to, kind of like, it sort of reminds me of, if you're playing like American football, it reminds me a little bit of a quarterback. Kind of, because a quarterback is the one that initiates the whatever play is going on the field. They're the ones that get the ball in motion, and the other players on the field kind of assert or coexist or do whatever. But the quarterback's kind of the subjugator. They're the one that makes the move that determines the play. Kind of like in volleyball, you have a setter that determines the move, and then once the ball's in motion, it can go a lot of different places, but the setter is the main person that sets it up. So, and that's not a perfect metaphor. You can twist and turn it different ways, but Isagi being the one that subjugates makes a lot of sense, because he can think up these elaborate scenarios and thinks of all these things, and he has this spatial awareness, so he kind of knows where the ball could go, is going, what our options are. So he's ripe for that role, and you need someone like that on the field that can take that initiative, because Ryusei is not planning out what's going to happen. Ryusei just wants to score the goal. And Rin, even though I'm sure he could plan it out, he's smart enough to do so, he's still focused on doing the same thing that Ryusei is focused on doing. So it makes sense for Isagi to be in this role. And he's like, can players that are so fundamentally different, can they coexist on the same team? Yes, they can. It's just a matter of how do we manage these guys? We're not going to necessarily micromanage, but how do we get them to work? I do love the giant veins poking out. Like just Ryusei's entire face is just veins. It's like the roid rage is in full swing, and Rin has like the demure veins coming out like in perfect. And he's like, "I'll kill you, Rin-chan." I love that Ryusei says like sometimes like the cutesiest, and just he's like Rin-chan and says like some of the cutest stuff in this episode while he appears to be a feral lion. It's so insane. Meanwhile, Rin is comparing Ryusei to literally an insect, which he calls everybody else pawns and peasants, so it makes sense. But yeah, I'm just like, and they're like, no, these two can't mesh. I do wonder, with the two of them not meshing well, if there's going to be anybody else playing with Team A that is able to make them mesh. And I wonder if Ego is going to take that into account. I think I was thinking too simply about Ego's choices, and that he was just going to narrow down like you would a bracket or something like that. But I feel Ego is going to like do a comprehensive analysis of each game, each combination, each play style, and what was compatible with what did work, what didn't work. He's going to make Henri organize it all and print it out and put it into packets and staple it all together. And then he's going to be like, okay, so what did the data show us? And that's going to lead him to pick the top 11. That's just my theory, right? So then Isagi's like, well, what can I do for this team? Because I'm Mr. Average. I don't have the special skills that Rin and Shido have. So how can I help them link up? And he's like, if the other team scores, it's game over. So we got to do this right now. I like Nanase ends up being really useful. And so does Hiyori. Was great. Hiyori was like MVP of this episode. If Hiyori's passing didn't exist, we would have been screwed. And if Hiyori hadn't gave Isagi the pep talk they needed, we would have been screwed. So Hiyori kind of was MVP. He just was. So I don't know if the thing is, here's the thing that's so crazy, and that I was in the reaction going, if Hiyori doesn't make it, but he gave Isagi all the pieces that he needed to make it, it's going to suck. But here's the thing. In Blue Lock, Ego's watching this game go down. He may be able to see Hiyori and Isagi talking. He may or may not be able to know what they're saying to each other, but in the end, Hiyori may have gave the advice to Isagi, but Isagi put it into practice. So you just gotta think like, okay, what does that mean? So I'm so baffled. But yeah, he's like, all right, I have to give it a try. He's like, I've got to try and see. I have to show my worth. Yeah. I was really afraid at one point when Nanase was starting to stand out. I was like, Isagi, if you don't do something now, you aren't going to stand out. And that's going to be a problem. So I keep calling Ada Otoya. I'm just going to say Ada. And Isagi's like, use me. And I was like, do you not realize that Tobito has been like against you this entire time? He's not just going to let you instantly get the ball. I do love Tobito being compared to as a crow. I like that Rin did all the alliterations for crows, like crummy crow and you coward crow. And I thought it was really cute. But also I like how they did his eyes in this episode. They made them very, very blue, kind of like Isagi's. We didn't see much out of Chigiri or Shiguma or Saramadara, although Chigiri proved themselves last episode. We didn't see much out of them. This was very much an episode for Isagi to get it together and figure out what needed to be done. And honestly, we're not going to see Isagi play for a while after this episode. So he kind of needed to have a mental pep talk and breakdown now, because he's going to have to wait before he gets it again. So, man, Nanase coming in. Like I said, for a second, I was like, damn, Nanase was supposed to be the lookalike of Isagi, and he's going to end up doing more than him. But luckily, that's not what happened. Although, I did think that it was interesting where Nanase was like, I can't wrap my head around the moves of Rin or Ryusei, but I can wrap my head around Isagi, so I can follow up with him. That's the idea of Isagi kind of linking them all together. Isagi is that middleman where you have Hiyori that can kind of bounce around everybody. Rin can bounce off of Isagi. Ryusei can bounce off of Isagi. Nanase can bounce off of Isagi. They all can bounce off him, and it becomes like a spider web where they string it all together, which is really pretty cool to see in action. And he's like, I can visualize your moves, Isagi. And so he goes, I do like that we get some of their eye sparks. Like Hiyori has this little gentle, breezy little ice spark of like turquoise. And then you have Nanase has like kind of like a purple, like a dull purple, which is fun. And what I liked about it was in this moment when he sees Nanase, Isagi does not think to himself, crap, Nanase is showing up too. He's going to be noticed more than me. Instead, Isagi's like, no, we don't have time to worry about that. We need to win the game. So he's like, I can make this work. This will be fine. I'll use him as a blind spot and move around him. And it was great. I thought the moves and stuff worked out really good. And then, as he goes, he has this moment where he's like, oh, I'm going to be perfect fine. I'm going to shoot the ball. It's going to be great. And then I love that, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. He gets the ball to Ryusei and then thinks that Ryusei was going to give it back to him. And I was like, you thought that? That was the one moment in the episode I was like, Isagi, did you really think Ryusei was going to give the ball back to you once he had it in his territory you've established? No. He ends up shooting it instead and just scoring the goal himself. But I'm like, that's essentially using Ryusei the same way that you use Baro. You made him do what you wanted him to score the goal. This is like the amped up version of that. I do like spinning banana shot, and I do believe that Ryusei, with the pink tips and the blonde hair and kind of like the caramel skin, is like a banana split. Or a sundae, or a strawberry banana sundae. He could be that too. But yeah, he's like, I'm the strongest in the box. And I'm like, okay. Like Alice in Chains starts playing. Ryusei's a man in the box. I do love throughout all of this that when we started out with the gentle parallel world, that I thought, oh, Isagi and Hiyori and Nanase. Well, Isagi, you're different than Nanase and Hiyori. They're going to be the ones that get kicked out. But honestly, what I liked about this episode was at one point, it was Nanase and Hiyori and Isagi working together and doing well against Tobito and Ada. And I thought that was really cool. I love the idea of kind of like the average players teaming up together and then getting the ball to Rin and Ryusei and scoring the goals. I thought that was really effective. And it made them look like they were doing things. And that's only going to make Isagi look better. And then, of course, Tobito's like, oh, the way he said he's starting to function, I don't know if that was just a weird translation, but the fact of Tobito saying he's starting to function, I was like, he's starting to do things. He can do things now. And I was like, oh my God, what a pain. Okay. We need to talk real quick. It's been nearly 22 minutes. I've held out as long as I could. I'm about 7.5 minutes into the episode, so I feel like it's safe to talk about it now. I'm going to be real with you all. I've been very optimistic and very okie dokie with the sports animation for the past 2 episodes because there was like some really bright colors and really good shadow usage and really good like in the moment animation with the talking and everything. In this episode, there are moments like when Isagi is thinking in his head and monologuing and trying to figure out what to do, like with the puzzle pieces coming off and everything. And the episode does like a kind of stylistic thing where it looks kind of wibbly wobbly. The animation does, and it's kind of like, and it feels to me like what I took it as was like Isagi thinking and being underwater. Like I'm watching March Comes In Like a Lion the same time as this show right now. And in March Comes In Like a Lion, there's a lot of symbolic meaning behind being underwater. Like when you're having anxiety or you're overwhelmed, you're underwater. And that theme is kind of used. Of course, it's Shaft Studio and it looks amazing. But go watch that series. But I will say in this episode, it was distracting. it was distracting how not animating they were. And a lot of it was just no mouth movements, just a still shot. There was one moment where it was like the viewpoint was Isagi looking towards the audience and Tobito's back was to us, but Tobito's voice actor was talking, so they didn't have to animate him talking. And I was like, and it was one of those moments I was like, okay, studio, I know you're cutting corners so you could get this done and get out here, but all I'm saying is the lack of animation you did for this episode, I hope you make it up somewhere else. And I hope that in like one of the episodes against the U20, it's made up. You put all your money there, because maybe you should have taken a little bit more time to animate this one if that was going to be it. I hope that's not the case for future episodes, but it was noticeable and I was like, ooh, uh-oh. So now look, am I still going to watch this season? Of course I am. Am I still going to really enjoy it? Of course I am. But am I going to bitch a little bit if the animation is like a little off? Yes, because I think that it would be disingenuous of me if I was like, oh, everything's fine. And you all are like, but I do think that one there's not an excuse for it. And that's where I'm like, that just felt a little lazy this episode, a wee bit. And it was noticeable. That was the thing. If it's not noticeable, I'll give it a pass, but I'm like, it was a little bit noticeable. So anyway, so it's like, yeah, because there was like, it felt like a visual novel. It felt like I was reading a visual novel, and I've never read a visual novel, but I've seen screens of them before, and this whole episode kind of felt a little visual novel-ish. Was it still good? Yes, but I just wanted to mention that, you know. Also, do you want to target players weaker than you, Crosso, you hyena? Calling him a hyena instead of a crow, I thought that was interesting. And then he said, leave the dead body alone and come at me, and I was like, Reen just called Isagi a dead body. And I was like, that's so mean. And Isagi's like, I'm right here. So, Tobito says, I hate that Big G bullying attitude. I'll sue you for power harassment, you dumb. I was like, what does that even mean? What does Big G mean? Power harassment? What are we doing? I was like, Tobito, you're getting your words mixed up. What would happen in here? But anyway, meanwhile, Isagi's like, these two, he's like, they're stealing my thunder. He's like, what am I going to do? And so I like that when Isagi is like about to get knocked over by Tobito, Hiyori's like, just duck under his hand. And I was like, it's a good message. If you just get under his wing, we're good. And so then Isagi manages to steal it, which is great. And so he's like, Nanase and Hiyori are reacting to my moves. He's like, we're all linking up together. This is great. And now, of course, Ada gets in there and he's like, you know, the road's closed. Nowhere for you to go. But that's when he manages to get the ball over. And look who's there. The three of them working together, dominating the midfield, taking it between Nanase and Hiyori. It's all working out great. And then Shigiri's about to come up. I like that Shigiri calls him light blue. And missed opportunity. You could have made it the ELO song, Mr. Blue Sky, but I guess that would have been copyrighted, so can't do that. But also, I like that Hiyori says, oh, you're really stupid fast. No wonder they like you. They like quickies, if you weren't privy to it. The only time we ever see Shiguma and Sara Madara on this episode is when they're shown on the little chart and they're just standing there. Now, granted, Shiguma is supposedly guarding Ryusei, so he actually is shown doing things in the episode. Sara Madara is nowhere to be found. He like literally was 100% absent from this episode. So he's like, I can subjugate Shido and shoot from here if I just get the ball. And he's like, what do I do? And that's when he misses. It was like such a perfect pass. It was such a perfect pass from Hiyori. Like everything was going so well. And that's when he just misses it. And I was like, oh my God, no. Luckily, they get the ball back. And I'm like, he's like, I wasn't good enough. I feel for Isagi. I feel for him. And so then the ball goes over. We get the matchup between Reen and Tobito. And Tobito and them, they manage to go back, and Reen manages to get one over and manage to score the goal. One thing that I do really like in this is the idea that Isagi is self-aware. Because a lot of protagonists I could see in a sports anime being like, but why did that happen? I trained and I'm strong enough and it still didn't work out. No, Isagi is a little bit self-loathing, and he instantly recognizes and acknowledges that he wasn't strong enough and he couldn't make it work for him. And I was like, well, that sucks. So I felt for him, but I'm glad that he managed to steal the ball away. And Tobito's like, ever since Mr. Average activated, y'all are a totally different team. I like his like frustrated face where he's smiling, but you can see he's very angry. It's contradictory and I like it. So that's when Isagi realizes that it's not just enough that they coexist and assert. He gets reminded from Ego that they're not just friends you play alongside. He's like, you've got to make them work for you. And my favorite face, I think, look, honestly, the face that Isagi makes whenever he like breaks past Ryusei and Reen, that was badass. That was great. We'll talk about it. When he has the red glowing eyes and is like, I didn't come here to play soccer where we were just friends. I came here to subjugate and devour people. And then here he's like, hey, Isagi. And he's like, oh yeah, what? That's my favorite part of the episode. My favorite shot of the whole episode is Isagi looking like a bloodthirsty vampire. And he's like, are you okay, bestie buddy? And he's like, oh, right as rain. Oh my God, that was great. Cause yeah, he's like, this isn't the soccer that I want to play. And he's like going crazy. He's like, oh, hey, Isagi-kun, you were really close. Is that cool? He's like, hey, friend. And then he's like, oh, and he just turns around. There's sometimes where Isagi literally looks like a serial killer. And it's the one time where I'm kind of okay with it. He's like, no, you were great, Hiyori. It was just, I wasn't good enough. And he's like, my mind is catching up, but my body isn't. And I like that Hiyori just kind of looks at him. And in a very Kuroko way from Kuroko's Basketball, he goes, well, if you're thinking and then moving, then you're always going to be too late. I love that moment where he just kind of looks at, and I wondered for a second if he was debating on whether or not to tell Isagi that, because he's probably like, I'm giving him all the answers. He's like, see it, think about it, move. He's like, you don't have time to sit there and think and strategize. He's like, you've got to make thinking a reflex. He's like, you've got to make scoring. And that's kind of, I like that, Isagi kind of goes, well, what the heck? That doesn't mean anything. And Hiyori's like, no, you literally, the thing is, what Hiyori is telling him is what we, the audience, have kind of been hoping he would get to as far as conclusions go since season 1. Because in season 1, he found out his whole thing was spatial awareness, and his whole thing was also being able to like read the room and come up with strategies. But, as you're watching, the more you just sit there and think about things, you're losing time. Even if it's milliseconds, you're losing time. You've got to combine your thinking and your intelligence with your gut instinct and just make it reflexive and go. Because it's like when Reen and Ryusei get the ball, they're acting on instinct just as much as they're thinking about what they're doing. They found a way to synthesize those two things together. And Hiyori's like, you got to do the same. If you can't pull off the physical moves that they can, then you've got to be able to make these decisions on the court just as quickly as they make those decisions to score those goals. And at first, Isagi doesn't get it, but then he figures it out, right? And he's like, oh. He's like, the world you feel will be totally different if you do that. And different it is. Like, he taps into it at this one goal as they're going. Oh my gosh. And of course, I like that Tobito calls Chigiri red. At least it's not Missy. And Chigiri goes after it, but Ryusei is like, no. Ryusei always looks like such a diva. I love him getting in there and being like, the star of the piece has arrived. I feel like they just got his voice actor, because his voice actor usually plays characters that are like the star of the show. And I feel like they went up to his voice actor and was like, here's this character. And the VA is like, well, he looks kind of crazy. And they're like, he's a star of the show. Sold. That's where they went. And that's where they went with it. But yeah, so then Isagi's like, all right, here we go. And they're like getting their play in motion. And he's like, this is my last chance. If I see a move that surpasses Rin and Shido, my physical abilities won't get me there. But then he's like, what does thinking as a reflex even mean? I'm like, oh, Isagi, sweetheart. He's like, I read the field with my eyes, I think, and then I move. But he realizes, he's like, well, that's how my weapon works, but that's not doing that as a reflex. How is that even possible? But that's the thing. He's thinking too much. He's thinking too much on it, and he's wasting time. And Tobito's like, all right, while you're sitting there monologuing, I'm going to crush you. And I like that Isagi says this guy shows up when he's least wanted. So as the ball's going down, they have this triangle to get past Ada and Tobiko. They aren't even worried about the others. You finally see Sarada Madara, but he's just, I mean, Nanase got past him. So we're fine. So then Hiyori gets it. Hiyori, you know what? I also believe that Hiyori deserves some credit because Chigiri is freaking fast. Chigiri is a fast character. We have established that as canon. And Hiyori did a damn good job of moving around him. And I was like, oh, okay, Hiyori. So I was honestly surprised. Our little Minen, he did a great job. And so Isagi's like, Rin and Shido are pushing up. They're anticipating the timing of it. They're like, who's going to dominate and score? They're all moving towards the goal at the same time. The CGI is on point. He's like, if I go for the space beyond Rin and Shido, he's like, I won't get there with the body I have now. But behind him is open. And he's like, do I do this? Do I do that? And that's when he says, how stupid am I? I love when he's like, why am I wasting time wondering what to do? He's like, thinking it over is too slow. He's like, don't think with your head, move with your heart. I love it. He's like, just sense it and go. I love that in this moment, Isagi's like, look, I've thought over my head all the possibilities. None of them coming to mind are going to work. So I just got to use my instinct and just go for it. And I like the idea that there are going to be times where Isagi is like, options A, B, and C aren't working. So I'm just going to have to go with my instinct and just let my feet and my body move, take me where it needs to go, and worry about it later. Like, obviously, he doesn't want to be reckless, but I think this isn't being reckless. I think it's just like, I've just got to do the damn thing right now. And so he's like, and it's also this idea at the same time that Isagi is like, look, I'm an egoist. I'm a striker. I can't just sit behind in the wings and be passive aggressive and be submissive to these two and wait for them to score the goal when I can score the goal and see an opening. He's like, I can go and do the goal just as much as they can if the opening is there and it presents itself. And I love that in that moment Ryusei is like, what? Isagi? And Rin's like, but how? I feel like they both were like, I am both confused and aroused. And then Isagi like goes for the damn goal and Meteor kicks it through. He basically becomes Kagami from Kuroko's Basketball and does a meteor strike right into the goal. And he's like, oh, I blacked out there for a second. How did I do that? And it's like, oh, sweetheart, precious bean. That felt like the end of a manga chapter, if I'm being honest. And then they won 5-4. He also did like a damn Akira slide. He did the Akira bike slide. Are we surprised that humans are doing the Akira bike slide in Blue Lock? No. No, we are not surprised. Not one bit. No. So yeah, he does that. I do like the faces that everybody makes in that moment. When he does the slide and everybody starts to run towards the team. I want to find that, like, they're like, the game's over. And the final score is 5-4. And they're like, Asagi-san, holy cow, bro. Like, wow. And he's like, oh, got me a super goal. Look at that. I do want to point out, like, the expressions on Team B, if it'll show up. Yeah, I like that we don't get to see Sara Madara or Shiguma. They're not important. Instead, we see Tobito and Ada just looks kind of annoyed, like, Chigiri's like, where did this come from? Nanase's like, oh my god, and Tobito's like, well, shit. But yeah, he's like, you were so far from Rinkun and Shido-san, but you blasted past him and scored directly. He's like, oh, I don't know how I did it. I just followed Hiyori's advice. I left to my reflexes and I just took off. He's like, okay, now get off of me. And of course, then I like that Ryusei, who is such a bitch, back in episode 24, the first thing is like, oh, well, nice one, Isagi. He's like, I could feel your cells giving off sparks. I was like, what? What? And then he's like, oh, your cells were giving off lots of sparks. And Isagi's like, excuse me? I like that as he says this, he says that your cells are giving off sparks like it's the most natural thing in the world. And Isagi just blinks like the fudge. And then he's like, well, I might come to like your explosion. Ryusei is a feral cat, but is also such a dork. And he's an oblivious dork. He's the worst kind of dork. The chaotic dork. The oblivious dork. He doesn't realize he's a dork. But I kind of love it. I kind of am here for it. I'm all here for it. I like it. I'm liking Ryusei more and more each episode, which is against anything I would have expected at the end of season 1. Right? And then I like that Ryusei is like, oh, hey, we might have something going on there, Isagi. And Rin's like, you're an idiot. Rin has the tsundere answer, right? Ryusei is like, hey, I'm all for it. And Rin's like, I don't even know how you did that. Not even possible. He's like, you just got that goal through luck. And he's like, whatever. And then he tells Isagi, he's like, you pissed me off. So Ryusei's over here like, let's make an eruption together and explode with our sparks. And Rin's like, I hate you. They both are polar opposites. Totally different love languages from each of them. And Isagi's like, I don't know who to pick. He's belled both, all these options. I'm like, oh, Bachira should be afraid. And then, of course, Isagi looks down at his hands. He's like, how did I manage this? I didn't even use my hands. And then, of course, I like that Ego is like looking at the screen, be like being absorbed by defiant concentration. He's like, I remember those days. And then he says, the flow, Henri. It's the flow. I love that he's just like, Henri, I know exactly what's going on. Pay attention. She's like, what? He's like, you placed a foot in the mechanism of a miracle. That's a very elaborate way of saying that you did good, kid. You did good. So what do we do with that now, we may ask. We'll see. But anyway, so then we get Reo is, of course, Reo's the last player picked for his team. Of course he is. Every time. And because then the little spin says the third player for Team C is bloop. And there we go. It's Reo. So we have our two teams. He's like, I finally made it. Okay. So the teams that are happening next week, Team C and Team A again. Oh my God. Okay. So the two teams that we've got. Oh, we got Glam. We got Glam going on. So Team A next week, we got Jujubee. We got Ryu on that team. Nice. We have the guy that's Discount Borrow. And so that's Ishikari. Yeah. So we got Ishikari, which is Discount Borrow. And then the one, who is that supposed to be? They have like the little scaly teeth. They're like got the chompers going on. What do we have there? I didn't write it down from that first episode, which is such a problem. But I'm like, it's not Wanama because they don't have the eyebrows. It's not them. It's not the leak hair. It's not 18. It's not the paper mache. I'm trying to see who it could possibly be. I don't think it's Nishioka. Is it Igarashi? I don't think it's anybody. It might be Igarashi, actually. Interesting. Okay. So I guess it is Igarashi. Okay. I didn't know if he was on that team or not. Maybe I'm going to put question mark by it because I don't know exactly who that is with the teeth that's supposed to be on their team there. But yeah, to a place where I can play alongside you. Of course, Rayo is like, Rayo immediately is getting to play with Nagi, and it's like, okay. And meanwhile, then Nagi can see him on the screen looking directly at him. I'm like, shut up. Shut up. I can't. Meanwhile, Kinyu's like, hey, friend. I love that Kinyu's in the chat. Kinyu, I don't trust Kinyu at all. I think Kinyu's a really good player, and I don't trust him. I don't trust his little goody two-shoes, Four Eyes Megumi look here. I don't trust it at all. Not 1 second. He's like, he's in the shadows, his face completely submerged in the shadow, and he's like, here, Nagi, here's your uniform. Aren't we best friends? I'm like, I don't trust. Trust and believe. He's like, here you go. Shall we go, Nagi Seishiro? And Nagi's like, hey, I'm just going to look at Rayo for like a little bit longer, if that's cool with you. And he's like, yep, I love it. He looks really good there at the end where he like looks towards the camera and like the backlighting is all behind him. Oh, I love it. And he has like just the wisps. Okay. Fine. Then we have our additional time. And the additional time is basically Ada saying that, sorry guys, I'm not into dudes. And I'm like, well, you can't make the top 11 because we can't have confirmed heterosexuals on this team, Ada. So I'm joking, of course, but I like to joke that there are a lot of BL ships in the show of Blue Lock. I feel bad for Chigiri because Chigiri is constantly called a woman and constantly called Missy, and Chigiri's like, just because I have better hair than all of you really doesn't mean you can misgender me. Thank you very much. And so he does the Kabadan as a ninja technique, which is hilarious. And I like that also at the same time, Chigiri is like, you're not my type. I love that Chigiri's like, you are not my type. And also, he like tries to he says tongue summoning. And Chigiri's like, ew, no, you sure about that? He's like, that's not how it's done either. And so he's like, well, it works on most women. And Tobito's like, I wouldn't know how that goes. What gets me is that he does his other techniques where he does like the head pat and all of this. He's like, yes, he does his back hug. And Tobito is like, excuse me, what? And then he does like the head pats and he's like, stop it. The ninja head pat, which honestly, in that moment, Tobito kind of looks like he enjoys the head pat. He's like, it's like, okay, fine, whatever. And he's like, do you want me to smack you? And then the secret combination technique that he does, where he's like the lift chin into and whisper. And he's like, Mr. Not So Average. I was like, why is he whispering the nickname that was given to Rin? Why? Because Tobito's like, shut up. And he's like, make their trick them and bewitch them. He's like, never let them learn your true nature. That is the secret of the ninja arts. I'm like, but then you say that you don't like guys, but then you're also into secret arts. And Shigiri is like, really? And they're like, you womanizer egoist. And he's like, well, I'm busted. And he says, just so you know, I'm not into dudes. I'm like, but they just said you were a womanizer and you were hitting on girls. So why did you feel the need to say you weren't into dudes if they were confirming that you weren't? And then when he says that, the very next thing, he's like, say it with me. He's like, girls are the best. And I like that he's trying to say that as like a self-affirmation. And the two of them are like, no. I like that neither Chigiri nor Tobito say that girls are the best. I'm just pointing it out there. I'm just pointing it out there. Just saying. Anyway, this was a good episode. I really enjoyed it. Isagi has a strategy, but Asagi's not going to be playing for the rest of these selection games. It's not going to be the case. Now we have to see Rin and Ryusei work again. alongside I actually want to see Rin and Ryusei working with Ryu, which is kind of like the Chigiri equivalent. And then Ishikari, I don't think Ishikari is going to do a damn thing, but I'm very curious about the other one, if he's going to do something that's on the team with them. And then they have to face Team C, which is Nagi and Kinyu. I want to see Ryusei versus Nagi. I think that would be really exciting. I would be all about that. And then Tanaka and Gin. Okay, I don't think Tanaka's going to do anything. I'm curious to see Gin in action because we haven't seen Gin do stuff in a long time. I would love to see Ryusei versus Nagi. I think Rin and Kinyu would be paired up, probably. Kinyu looks a little bit strategic, unless Kinyu's going the Zantetsu route and is just wearing glasses for show. I mean, he's supposedly a model, so maybe. I instantly think of Natsume's Book of Friends, and there's a character on that that's an actor, and he wears fake glasses as a disguise, so maybe that's part of it. But then Ryu versus Reo would be interesting because they have, I think, matched up before. And then, yeah, Gin and Tanaka and Ishikari, and I think it's Igarashi, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to go back and check that out. But anyway, I'm super excited to know your thoughts down below. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm back real soon with more Blue Lock. Bye!